Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tudo Hoyane. There is something which I have observed throughout the Senzo MEYIWA trial. And it's a very disturbing observation that comes up every so often and has become, the trademark of this trial. The approach of Judge Ratha to witnesses of the defense and prosecution witnesses. As the trial or as the defense trial unfolds, one is now beginning to make a comparison of the way in which he is treating defense witnesses. Remember, Sibiya is an accused person and is also the first defense witness. As he sees there in that box, he is a defense witness. So there's quite a huge discrepancy in the way in which Judge Ratha treats Sibiya compared to how he has been treating prosecution witnesses as George Baloyi led them. And this raises a lot of, doubts about just how impartial is Judge Ratha coming into this case. Like I've said, it has become a trend. If it had only happened once or twice, well, it would just be, one could just dismiss it and say, well, probably he just overreached himself or something. But when it becomes a pattern and a trend, it becomes very worrying whether the accused persons are in fact getting a fair trial. Let me give you a taste of what I'm talking about. During the cross-examination of Brigadier Gininda by Advocate Munisi, I think that was around June or somewhere there, Advocate Munisi was questioning Brigadier Gininda about the reasons or the basis upon which he then made a recommendation to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to have the accused persons indicted or charged. It was at that stage that Judge Ratha intervened on behalf of Brigadier Gininda to say that, Gininda knows nothing about the decision to prosecute or not to prosecute. And then said it is ultimately the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shamila Batoyi, and went on to inquire from Baloyi. And Baloyi confirmed that it was Batoyi who had made the decision to charge the accused persons, arguing that it is an unfair question. In fact, the judge arguing that it is an unfair question to ask Brigadier Gininda about the basis upon which he had made the decision. An intervention which, in my view, clearly demonstrated, his protection of this prosecution witness, Brigadier Gininda. Just take a listen to this.
Where an investigating officer prepares a memorandum and says to the prosecutor, on the basis of this memorandum, can you please make a decision on whether you want to prosecute or you don't want to prosecute this accused person? What is privileged about that?
You know what? Have you read, is it section 279 or 179? Listen. Which makes Batrohi.
It's 179.
Batrohi decide whether to pursue a prosecution or not.
Yes.
So this witness can help us because that evidence played itself in court here. Which evidence was read to, it was Johnson. Who was the guy then? The guy who used to call Sean the Sheepman. What's his name?
Sean Abrams.
Is that the one who decided?
No, it was the current NDPP.
Oh, Batohi.
Yes.
Yeah, fine. So Batohi goes over that evidence, and the decision is his, not this gentleman.
No, but maybe
no, just listen to me. And it's a misnomer to say the state doesn't have privileged information. What this witness discusses with Batohi is privileged. The same thing as what you discuss with your witness is privileged. And that is the law.
My lord, I am saying the basis, the facts that he submits to the DPP or to the NPA and requests them to make a decision on, we are entitled to know that. And that is exactly what I'm requesting this week. And my lord, let us for a moment assume that that is privileged. He said he submitted, he made a presentation to the NPA and requested NPA to make a decision on. He did this, in this instance, he did that in the form of a memorandum. I'm simply requesting him to tell me the facts that he presented to the NPA, which facts have got to do with these accused persons that are before court here. They are entitled to know what is it that Gininda told the NPA about us, which ultimately the NPA then decided that we should be arraigned for trial here.
Okay, let's hear you. I mean, I don't want to waste time. Let's hear Gininda.
Maybe just one aspect, if I may be so presumptuous as just to mention that, to respond to one aspect. Counsel says he wants to know the facts on which the decision to charge the accused was based. That decision was based on facts contained in the dockets. And he has been furnished with copies of the statements, copies of the docket on which the information to charge the accused was premised. Nothing more, nothing less, my lord. He already sits with the information. I cannot fathom why he would want a summary that an investigating officer makes for himself and for the purpose of briefing the DPP, that he should have sight of that when he's sitting with the statements on which the decision to charge the accused was based.
Yeah, okay.
As it is the court, my lord. It is so that we have a docket, but there is nothing wrong in me while serving that docket to request this witness to give that factual basis or to give the facts on which he approached the NPA. This is cross-examination. The state cannot simply assume.
You know what, I'm going to overrule you. I just told, just read 179. Just read 179.
Yeah, I'm not going to proceed yet.
Just read 179.
Well, the heading says...
So there you hear him clearly intervene, as if he's a prosecutor in this matter. Because that intervention or objection should have been raised by Judge Balu. If Advocate Nisi was asking an unfair question of the witness, Brigadier Gininda, then it is Judge Balu who should have taken up that matter. The judge sitting there just has to sit and be an impartial, arbitrator over the proceedings. He does not have to intervene on the side of either party. So that is the typical interventions that I'm talking about, which to say the least, and with all due respect to the judge, are unprofessional because he does not have to jump into the arena. The contestants here are the defense and the prosecution. The judge has got no dog in this fight. He has got no interest to pursue in this fight except the cause of justice. Now, when he intervenes on the side of one party or the other, it brings the whole administration of justice into disrepute and raises serious doubts about how open a mind and how impartial a mind the judge has brought into this matter. Then it is a very disturbing thing to see. Now let us move on. Take a look here how when George Baloyi was asking Muzi Sibiya how he does not intervene on behalf of Muzi Sibiya. Take another listen to this.
And Gininda.
You heard the testimony of Lieutenant Colonel Khadebe. He testified that he's attached to the organized crime division in Rustenburg. Will he have traveled all the way from Rustenburg to Alberton if he did not indicate to Brigadier Gininda that you are prepared to make a pointing out?
Wamuzwa ke yena umnumzana Khadebe noma Colonel Khadebe esho ke ukuthi usebenza ngaphansi kwethimba ke le organized crime division endaweni yase Rustenburg. Manje kwakuzokhonakala yini ukuthi asuke yonke le ndlela le eze eAlbertine makuwukuthi ke akazange ke ayelele uye ke uBrigadier Gininda emtshela ukuthi ke ube nayo leyo ngxoxo nawe.
Of questioning. This witness is not privy to the telephone communication between Brigadier Gininda and Colonel Khadebe. Now, to expect this witness to comment on what they were discussing, when he says now for the umpteenth time that I was not there as Gininda, it's unfair, man. The court, please.
Well, my lord, is to show the improbabilities of his version. He can comment if he so chooses, my lord. But we submit that it's
as the court places,
it's a fair question.
my lord, if Mr. Baloyi says to the witness, I put it to you as a proposition that Khadebe left Rustenburg because you had told Gininda XYZ, then I'll sit down. That's a different proposition now.
And then when he says, why would Khadebe travel all the way from Rustenburg if he did not speak to Gininda that he would be assisting him to supervise the taking of pointing outs? It's different.
That's inviting speculation.
No, I'm not speaking. I'm addressing the question to you.
Yes.
You are saying, if he says, I put it to you, it changes the complexion of the meaning of the... It does?
Yes. It does.
Okay, you heard that, sir.
Well, maybe let's rephrase it. Let's rephrase it. Are you suggesting that Lieutenant Colonel Khadebe traveled all the way from Rustenburg to Alberton without you having indicated your preparedness to make pointings out?
Manje ke wena usho ukuthi uHadebe ke usukele eRustenburg eza la eAlbertine makuwukuthi wena awuzange ke uvume ukuthi.
Now there came up a very unfair question by Baloyi. And I would have expected the judge, in order for him to maintain his impartiality, to have also intervened here, to sort of level the playing field, to show that he is not leaning either way. Because that question by Baloyi was a patently unfair question. Because Baloyi was asking Sibiya, how is it possible that Lieutenant Colonel Khatebe would have left Rustenburg if Brigadier Gininda had not told him that you were ready and in a position to do some pointing out? That's an unfair question. How is Sibiya supposed to answer that question? That was a decision or a conversation between Lieutenant Colonel Khatebe and Brigadier Gininda. That, okay, come and take or be part of that pointing out, or be in charge of that pointing out. What does it got to do with Sibiya? But it took Attorney Ramusipili to intervene and say, this is an unfair question, because the witness now is being asked to comment on something that took place between Brigadier Gininda and Lieutenant Colonel Khatebe, which has got nothing to do with Sibiya. I just saw the judge sit there and let it all roll on and on. And he did not sort of display what I now call his protective, attitude towards the prosecution and his witnesses. So this case can be very disturbing. And like I said in my opener there, this has become a trend. It has become a trend. Little wonder then there's so much criticism around this trial and the many other irregularities that we have seen crop up, coming from none other than Judge Ratha himself. It is a very disturbing thing. But Sibiya is doing very well, because he now has to face, cross-examination from George Baloyi, and a very unsympathetic judge. In effect, Sibiya is almost coming up or facing two prosecutors. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video. Let me thank you for all the subscriptions that I'm seeing. We are still on the march to the 12,000 subscriber mark. And with your support, anything is possible. Please kindly like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.